Welcome to Sports Connection. I'm Darrin Joins, Williamson County Schools Athletic Director. And I know, Mr. Mathews, this is one of your favorite times of the year for Sports Connection. I know you and Dr. Qualls years ago had something, so I put a couple props up here for you. And I appreciate Mr. Mathews, Dr. Qualls being here with us.
Dr. Qualls. Oh, you forgot Dr. Qualls' tie. Much better.
That may be a...
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you. 2-game winning streak. Yes, sir. Golly. He's kind of still with us, isn't he?
Yeah, of course.
Hey, Coach Joins. Hey, Coach Fance, this is Ron Crawford up here in Memphis, over here with the brothers, Christian brothers. Want to wish you good luck in the Battle of the Wood. Watch out for that Will Hess. You got to be ready for the onside kicks, fake punts, 2-point conversions. Will, the riverboat gambler. But just know old Coach C is going to be cheering from you over here in the River City.
Now, listen, I know we're going to have lots of fun here. Now, is that a raptor behind you there? Crow,
well,
what is that?
So Dr. Vaden educated me on this years ago. A raptor is actually a group, it is a type of bird. It is a bird of prey. And the telltale sign is a hook-nosed beak. So if there's a beak that is good for pecking and tearing, that would be considered a bird of prey. I believe, keeping with, what week is this, by the way? Oh, Halloween week.
Oh, yes.
I believe that is a crow.
I think it's a crow, too.
Yeah. Great movie, by the way. I think they're remaking it.
Hey, let me tell you something. It's not dead.
State championships in Wilco.
Wilco volleyball. State championship number 6, if you're counting at the middle school level, which does count.
It does count.
We've secured that in WCS. Football playoffs right around the corner. We're in the final week of the season. We're calling it week 10. It's actually 11 in terms of the weeks, but our teams, it's week 10. And, man, let's start off with volleyball. Nolensville and Brent. We thought it could happen. We talked about it all year that we thought they could match up, but it actually taking place takes a little bit of work. And look at what Brentwood did to get there. I think they call that Tall Thursday, where you have to come through that consolation bracket. You know, you look at Brentwood, they dropped the opening match to Collierville, but then what did they do? They beat East Hamilton, they beat Houston, they beat Farragut, they beat Maryville before they get in that state final against Nolensville. Nolensville Tate goes untouched. They defeat Blackman, Houston, Maryville, Brentwood in the finals, and they only dropped 2 sets along the way. What a run for Coach Young and his squad.
One of those sets being the first set to Brentwood.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we were there. Great atmosphere.
Great atmosphere. I was a little worried on the ride up. Was a little bit worried about the setting at Rockville. Didn't quite understand it. Great place. Great atmosphere. Brentwood student section was full and on point. Nolensville student section was full and on point. It was really cool. The gym was full, which made it loud. What an exciting atmosphere it was. And AAA volleyball, D1 AAA volleyball, state championship, Nolensville, Brentwood, the 2 best teams in the state. It gets no more exciting than that in a packed gym. I mean, that sounded like the old Franklin, Brentwood, you and Coach Shirley basketball games, packed house. I mean, that's what that environment felt like, sounded like. It was awesome.
He liked those games too.
He did, especially that time when for some reason there wasn't a post-game handshake. I can't remember what happened, and he did not like that. But you know what I think is really cool? You hate to lose the first game, as Brentwood did to Collierville, but it's the end of the year, right? I mean, you know, you hope to play on Friday, which they did, and you hope to win that one, but then it's over. They got to play 6 games.
Right.
From Tuesday to Friday. I mean, they made it hard on themselves, but they got 6 more games to be together and compete. I just think it's awesome, man. What a great story. And then they come out and, not to steal your thunder, but they win the first set. And man, they really looked like they were getting ready to take that thing, didn't it? Nolensville, maybe not Coach Young and the team, but the Nolensville faithful had to be a little nervous because Brentwood looked lights out in that first set.
They did. And by the way, Tate, let me give you this week's gem followed by a question for you.
Fantastic.
For Nolensville, 4 state titles, AA, AAA, 2 each, and a final in 6 years. Now, I feel like I sort of dubbed this early on.
You did.
Death, Halloween theme.
Well, I don't want to bring it out yet.
Taxes and Brentwood volleyball. Do I need to, Mr. Mathews, change it to Nolensville volleyball?
4 titles, 5 years, 5 finals, 6 years? I think you must. Now, Coach Rucker's done a great job getting back where they're supposed to be.
Done a great job.
Where they're supposed to be, but not where they expect to be. They expect to be champions. So she's right there, but right now, 6 years, you can't argue with that. The road goes through Nolo now.
You know, and maybe the way too early pick for next year, I might give the edge to Brentwood next year because listen to these juniors. Lauren Duncan, by the way, she had 36 assists in the final. Eliza McKnight, junior. Daisy Oatsfall, junior. They combined for 28 kills. Then on the Nolensville side, you got the super senior there, Kyra Knox, 24 kills, 18 digs. She was the MVP.
That was a tough one to decide.
Yeah, very tough. Maya Pogue, 12 kills, also a senior. But then you got some youngsters. Taylor Collins, sophomore, 11 kills. And then the setters, Tate, freshman, sophomore. Sadie Deming, 26 assists. Avery Etheridge, 22. But with that big 3, those juniors coming back,
yep,
they might be the favorites going in next year.
Well, they do, but then Brentwood's really young too. I mean, pretty young.
Yeah, they've got some good young players too.
Yeah. I mean, so, Lauren and Eliza and Daisy are all coming back.
Well, that's what I said. They may be the favorites.
Well, I know, but then you talking about the young ones for Nolensville too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So how about this? They're the favorites to meet each other in the state championship again. And then, you got the Baldwin. Baldwin is Will Hester's niece is starting as a freshman for Brentwood. Heck yes,
she's really good.
So,
and they've got some great 8th graders too.
Yeah, man. You giving Brentwood?
Maybe early.
Okay, well, I picked Brentwood to win this year, so it's not like
I picked Nolensville.
I think I know you did. I think until somebody beats Nolensville,
yeah,
they got to be the AP preseason number 1 going in.
I'm gonna watch
in the poll.
I'm gonna let the summer stuff happen. I'll make
see what happens. But they're both loaded.
Congratulations, Coach Rucker, Coach Young, their staff. They're just doing a great job, and it was so exciting. 2 Wilco teams in the final. I tell you, it was exciting. Matthew Gillespie from TSSAA. He's like, that crowd was great. He sent me a little message. Match, like, what an atmosphere. I will say this, and I certainly get when people say this. Having it at a place like MTSU, maybe it feels like this great reward for the players. In my opinion, no way it feels as exciting as it did in that gym.
No, you're right. It was a great atmosphere. It was a great atmosphere.
Maybe a Belmont, Lipscomb, maybe that's
as big as it can be, Yeah. I would lean more towards Lipscomb just because, and it's not much better, but there is no parking at Belmont. You can't have it at Vanderbilt.
Maybe if you close off the upper seating at MTSU.
Maybe.
And it was phenomenal.
Yeah, and you're right there on it. It was fun, and I'm a big Daisy Oatsfall fan.
You are,
man.
You're number 1.
Kyra Knox is unbelievable, right? But she's taller. The way Daisy hangs in the air.
She's a floater.
She's a floater, man.
Jordan-esque.
That's where I was going with it, man. The legs weren't spread, but they're kind of back. Seriously, the way she hangs in the air, somebody in the media department, that could almost be a graphic and a logo.
Dr. Qualls, you're a big Jordan fan. Are you okay with that?
Air Force One, yeah.
He's okay with it.
He's good. Pretty quiet today. Dr. Q.
It's really not like
Never
him.
seen you like
well,
this.
maybe it's his 2-4 on Pick'ems this past week.
That'll
It's
do it
got
to
him a
you.
little. Hey, let's talk a little soccer now. The first one we don't win a state title in.
Yep.
So we're disappointed with 2 semifinalists. Great run by Page and Franklin. Franklin loses to eventual state champion Houston. A couple stats I saw there with Franklin and Houston. So going into that match, Franklin had only allowed 6 goals all year. Houston had allowed 4. Bearden, same respect, had allowed only 4 all year. Houston ends up beating Bearden in the finals. Page, another great run. So Page knocks off Collierville in the first round. And people were surprised at that. If you looked at those, they did those Max Preps rankings. I think maybe Collierville was top 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Page beats them 4-1. That's handily, by the way. Franklin 3-0 over Science Hill, again, handily. But then Houston in the semis, just too much for Franklin, 2-0. Bearden 4-0 over Page. I think those teams, maybe if Houston and Franklin play 10 times, maybe Franklin gets them twice. But I think you look at that and go, based on how they sort of maxed out of what should happen.
I agree.
Or could happen. Houston Bearden they're too good right now.
They're too good right now. Yep.
And that's hard to admit.
It is, but sometimes you got to call it what it is. But they did. Yeah, and they're building back. Franklin's on their way back to getting back to that state championship line.
They are. They're close.
They're close.
They are knocking on the door. Just the past few years, lost that penalty kick to Ravenwood.
Yeah.
They're getting the wrong bracket last year. End up losing first round to Houston. Obviously, they took it all the way to the final. So they're about ready to win another one. I mean, let's don't feel sorry for them. I think they've won 14.
Correct.
14 in girls, 3 in
But
boys.
It doesn't matter. These ladies
That's right.
and Coach Burgoyne want
They want another one.
They want now.
Hey, how about this stat? Page, I know we've talked about this. Page girls soccer, they're the 4th number 6 seed in WCS. I'm talking about our tournament. The 4th in the last 2 years to go to the state tournament. So they make the semis. Last year, Nolensville volleyball, state runner-up. Ravenwood girls soccer, state runner-up. Brentwood boys basketball, state quarterfinals. So, I know I'm belaboring the point here, but I'm going to argue that if the 6th seed, if they were split up in 2 districts, they wouldn't be making it.
I agree. No, I think it's not belaboring the point. It needs to be brought up because it's the truth. Iron sharpens iron. And these tough regular season tournaments and these tough.
Very pointy right now, the iron.
It is, big time. Maybe even a little hot. It's awesome. I think it's great.
What do you think, Husky?
What? Hickman County
He agrees.
Hickman County never made it out.
He likes us being together. Anyway, exciting. Coach Clapp, Coach Burgoyne, your squads, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Another great year. I'll say this. Dr. Qualls and I were talking about Coach Clapp, and he was talking about when they were in that lower classification. You go look at how he's scheduled. He's never hidden from competition.
No.
He really hasn't.
No, he hasn't. He's always played up in non-region games because he knows it gets him ready for the tournament.
He knows.
He probably knew that at some point this was coming. They were going to end up moving up a classification, and here you are. They're one of the 2 teams in the AAA state tournament.
16-6-2. Lose to Bearden, state runner-up. Lose to Franklin a couple times. Franklin with 2 losses, 1 to Page, and obviously in that semifinal. Houston ends up, not that we care, they end up 22-0.
Don't care.
Don't care. All right, let's go to the football recaps. Let's jump into that. Week 9, again, our 9th week. We're going to start off with really, how can you argue? Game of the week across the state, regardless of classification. Ravenwood 32-31 win in overtime over Oakland at Oakland. And I think you've got an RIP for us.
RIP, number 1 in the state, Oakland. Ravenwood was number 2. Ravenwood's not number 2 anymore.
Bye-bye to the ranking.
RIP to the number 1. The Raptors are number 1 now.
Hey, now get this. I think you and I have agreed Ravenwood's going to make the final. I believe you're saying it's a matchup with Oakland again. I'm thinking Maryville.
I think so. I think.
You think it's Oakland?
I think it's Oakland. Alcoa beat. Who? What does this mean? Nothing, but it's good for conversation. Alcoa beat Maryville last week. Ravenwood beat Alcoa pretty good. Double digits. I think Oakland will end up. Coach Creasy and that offense will find a way getting. It's not Maryville of old. It's getting back. It's getting better, but it's kind of like Brentwood Academy. Coach Flatt's not walking out on the field. George Quarles ain't nothing against. George Quarles is one of the all-time greats. Anyway, so yeah, I think it's Oakland.
This may not be a hot take, but I think you'll agree with me. It was on the road, which makes it tougher. Down 14-0. I don't think Ravenwood played near their best. They did coming back.
Yeah, they did come back.
But they got off to a slug. And listen, I was a little disappointed in the Ravenwood crowd, just a little.
Yeah.
They got rowdier as the game went by, but I was like, man, this is number 1 versus number 2. Now, Oakland's definitely wasn't.
No.
I was like, man, this is kind of a shame.
Ravenwood's
wasn't terrible.
No.
It wasn't what I was looking for.
But the stands were not full, which we've come to expect. With the Raptors.
Beautiful night.
When it happens again, it needs to be full.
But
maybe it'll be. I don't know how that works this year, but doesn't matter. It needs to be full. But Coach Hester said this, and I didn't think about it, but that's because that's what he does. What Oakland does is a little bit different than anybody they've seen so far, and they started off down 14-0. So I think part of it maybe they didn't play their best, but I think a bigger part of it was they hadn't seen that. It's against some, they've got the Morris youngster. Right now he's committed to USC. T.T. Hill, he's going to play college running back. Craig Tutt, he's going to play. They got 3 legit D1 running backs. It's all that misdirection and so many things coming at you. I feel like it almost took them a quarter to settle down. Well, I don't feel like that. Coach Hester feels like it almost took them a quarter to settle down, kind of get their bearings. And then after that, the Ravenwood defense played much better against them. But I think they just had to get an idea of what was going on, get comfortable with it, and now start playing football again. Ravenwood
down 14-0, get a big turnover. And then a 65-yard touchdown pass to Donovan Starr. Jalen Pollard gets a TD run. It's 14-all. And then it was pretty much back and forth. We didn't say this. We got to say it. Go to overtime. First of all, the Ravenwood defense stiffened there at the end of regulation.
Sure did.
No field goal for Oakland. Oakland scores pretty quickly, 31-24. Ravenwood gets in the end zone, and then what's Coach Hester do? He goes for 2, which he's got a history of doing. Femi Babalola to Patrick Sullivan. And that was kind of a low, but it was really the only place he could throw it, him catch it.
Yes.
If it's up high, it gets batted down, I think.
Right.
It was nice. I don't know if that was by design, but it's what happened. 2-point good.
Well, I think also he couldn't have thrown it high, but in front, he was so open. I think it was almost like he was throwing a dart, right? He just wanted to hit it. You know what I'm saying?
But if it ended up being a little higher, I think it might have gotten.
It would, yeah. But
Oh, you're saying he didn't fling it?
Yeah, he didn't put any mustard on it. And then what about the touchdown before the 2-point conversion to Hubbard? Ben Hubbard played his best game of the year.
He played well.
The touchdown that he had earlier, and man, here's what was great about it. It was number 1 versus number 2. It went to overtime. The Raptors had to come back to win. All their big time players played big in big games. All their leaders and their big players played well. Their offensive line played well. That's a good defense, man. Donovan Starr had a long touchdown. Femi played well. Maverick played well. The defense played well. And there were about 3 plays that, in a game like this, there always are. But you mentioned that big fumble after they were down 14-0. They were going in to go up 21-0. That was a huge turnover.
It was.
I don't think they win that game without that one. Holding them to the field goal at the end of the half, if that's a touchdown, they probably don't win. And then you mentioned stiffening the defense down there, which what that ended up being like 8-9 plays. There kept being penalties everywhere. They had a clock malfunction. But it was Ravenwood's night for sure, man. What a complete team win. And I love the confidence Coach Hester had going for 2. And I don't think he'd say this publicly, but this is where, an experienced coach. He said he told me off the air that after that first overtime, he looked in his defense's eyes and he knew they were gassed. He was like, I wasn't putting them back out there. If we scored, we were going for 2.
I loved it.
I loved it. Mimi Hester loved it too.
Why shoot a 2 when you can go for 3?
3s beat 2s.
I'm good at math.
I know somebody who believes that.
All right, Centennial Page. I don't think we're surprised with the winner, but you actually called this. You thought it would be fairly comfortable, and man, was it ever. At Centennial, Page 49-7, 416 yards of offense. How about Centennial? Only 89 yards of offense. Mitchell Grandjean, 10 for 12, 242 yards. He had 97 yards rushing and a TD. Knight Wilson, 2 TD receptions, 1 from Grandjean, 1 from Bush. Man, Page is rolling.
Page is rolling. I love this. Coach Rathbone's been trying to get to this the whole year, but I really love the development of Mitchell Grandjean at quarterback. Again, this is a good Centennial defense. The score doesn't indicate it, but it's a good Centennial defense. He goes 10 for 12, as you mentioned. That's hard to do against anybody, especially Centennial.
It is.
What does that do? That keeps Bush free, keeps Bush fresh, keeps him playing the majority of his snaps on defense, which is where we want him, where we're going to need him to get to where we want to go, man. And I mean, there's just so many weapons on this team. And so 49-7, 9 games, 7 shutouts, and 2 one-touchdown games, one of those being Centennial. And then the offense, again, we mentioned the Centennial defense is good, 416 yards. It was a total team win. They're really playing well. I don't care, the schedule, don't care about any of that. These guys they're on a mission. They're really, really good. We've had some questions, off air out in the community. How would Page fare in 6A? I think they'd fare just fine. You look at some of the common opponents. There was a 6A team that played them 2 weeks ago. They didn't beat them 49-7, and they're really good. They're playing for the region championship this week.
Correct.
By the
If they were
way,
in 6A, they'd be playing Ravenwood in the quarterfinals.
side note, I think we need to do a little house cleaning on this. You mentioned the score 49-7. I know people were expecting to see maybe the boat captain hat.
This is for our Franklin people.
Franklin people, but
Everybody.
The Page people might call too. But in case you're wondering, let me refer back to the Boat Race City 101 rule book. The reason there was no Boat Race City on the 49-7, Coach Joyce, what does Rule 1 say?
No with 2 underlines, which means really no. Wilco on Wilco crime.
No Boat Race City on the 49-7. So, again, if you need a copy of the handbook, please email jeremy.qualls@wcs.edu.
He doesn't mind.
Do not at me. The rules are the rules. But that's why there was no Boat Race City.
And they are the rules.
They are the rules.
Brentwood, 20-6 winners at Independence. I thought Independence really showed themselves right before that Summit matchup. They're saying, hey, they're getting better is what I'm saying.
Getting better.
Because I think a lot of people thought that could have been a big mark, even though Brentwood's not really built to do that, but certainly one you could look at before the game and go, Brentwood may really roll in this one, but Independence hung in there. J.C. White, 243 yards, 2 touchdowns. He rushed for 41 for Brentwood. Clayton Merrill, his favorite target, 90 yards, 6 receptions, and a touchdown. Gavin Nelson, it's the same every week. Gavin rushing, Clayton receiving, White and Kinder throwing, mainly White throwing, Kinder running a little bit more than White.
And then defense giving up 6 to 10 points.
With 1 returning starter. Our man Ball.
Yeah.
Independence, Matthew Horner, 104 yards rushing and a touchdown. Man, I'm looking forward to the border battle this week.
Me too.
By the way, Battle of the Woods was picked up by MyTV30, so we can get more coverage. The WCTV game of the week will be the border battle. So now we've got 2 that are televised. So I like that.
I do too.
I like that.
More chances of viewership. Yeah, and not only are you excited about it, golly, it's for the final playoff spot. I mean,
It is.
talk about coming down to the end, man.
Can't wait to see the picks this week.
Going to be interesting.
It's going to be interesting.
Independence played Brentwood. I know what we're getting ready to talk about next.
So you're already trying to get me to pick Indy.
I'm just talking to the viewers out there. I'm giving the information. That was playing Brentwood 20-6 was really, really nice. Good effort on Independence.
And that game's at Independence, so you never know.
That's right.
All right, WCTV game of the week from last week, Nowensville 13 at Summit 20. Now, a couple things kind of stood out to me. Number one, Nowensville goes up 13-0 fairly early in the third quarter, like 9 minutes left. So you're thinking, okay, Nowensville's going to win in Nowensville fashion, 13-0 or 13-3. About a 4 or 5 minute span, what Summit do? They score twice. They tie this thing up. In fact, that first score, Mr. Mathews, let's take a look at the play of the week.
Cranky in motion. Deep pass there. Wide open. And just like that, that's going to be a touchdown, Summit.
Yeah.
We said it. They had to go to the playbook. Knights caught sleeping in the secondary. Great throw and catch by the Spartans. Touchdown. And there's the big Mo switching to the hometown team.
So McElhaney passed to Jones for the touchdown. The sophomore finds his way to the end zone. And yeah, like you were saying there, Doug, I think the Nowensville defense just got caught sleeping. McElhaney able to put a floater out there along the seam.
Actually a really impressive catch because it was over his shoulders and he made a great catch.
Well, the safety kind of got a little anxious, came up a little too quick. Can't let that guy get behind you like that. That's what they were looking for. Great pass by McElhaney. And that was a big play.
Big play.
Air Coleman out there. Or no, I guess Air Collins airing the ball out there. Man, a healthy Mason McElhaney with getting the offensive line healthier, that's scary for opponents.
McElhaney, the 2 touchdown passes, one that you just saw to Ryan Jones that got the scoring started, the second to Luke Oliver, who's really played well lately. McElhaney also at the rushing TD for Nowensville, Jack Dever. 43 passes, 193 yards, had 26 completions. And Summit, I'm sure, played it that way. But that's a lot.
No, I was going to say that. The other
Nowensville.
thing that I think you have to really give credit to on the Summit side, Coach Taylor and the defense did a great job because it wasn't like they were Nowensville was playing from behind. They didn't take the lead with what
A couple minutes left in the third.
Yeah, in the third. So point being,
It was tied.
43 pass attempts for Nowensville. Coach Taylor and the Summit Spartans, they took away the Nowensville rushing attack from the beginning.
They did. Franklin loses a heartbreaker at Mount Juliet 27-30. Mount Juliet, like last year, came in undefeated with, let's just face it, a really soft schedule. Franklin leads for about it's the truth.
It's the truth.
Franklin leads for about 40 minutes of that game. It's 27-16 going to the fourth quarter. Give Mount Juliet credit. They get a couple of touchdowns in the fourth quarter to win that game 30-27. On the night, Brewer Wilson had 2 touchdown passes to Lucas Young, 1 to Wills Jackson. And then Lucas runs a 98-yard kickoff to give Franklin that 27-16 lead late in the third. And it looks like the Admirals are going to roll into Mount Juliet and get that win. They don't. Only 39 yards rushing for Franklin. So, which is kind of shocking. You would think they would try to take away the pass a little bit.
Yep.
And maybe let them get some rushing yards, but worked out for Mount Juliet. I don't think this hurts Franklin mentally. I really don't. They're going to be a playoff team. They're going to roll Overton this week. They would have loved to have that win, but they're going to roll right into the playoffs. They're going to win week 1 of the playoffs. They're going to be playing Ravenwood in the second round with nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose. And that one got, as you mentioned, I think you used the word chippy.
A little chippy.
A couple of weeks ago. And it will be chippy again. But you're right. I don't either. I really thought the strength of schedule that Franklin played and the soft schedule that Mount Juliet played would really benefit them. It did. I mean, it was 27-30. I really thought they were going to get them. And I think if they played them again, they might. So I don't think it hurts them at all. They got Overton this week. It's a week to get better. and it's probably a week to work on. They know they're going to play Antioch, so they know who that is. It's a week you can kind of low-key work on your first-round opponent. Don't get anybody hurt, and let's go take care of Antioch and then Ravenwood Franklin Part 2. That'll be a fun one for sure.
And
But,
everybody's
you're right. I don't think it hurts them. I think it actually playing this game makes them better.
everybody's a little banged up this time of year. Franklin can maybe get a little healthy in the last. Brentwood, Ravenwood can't do that. Indy Summit can't do that. So we'll see how that goes. Final game. Fairview loses 34-20 at Sycamore. First region loss of the year, despite touchdowns from John Barrick, Maxwell Arnold, Javante Hewitt. Now, Tate, we're a little short on time on the Halloween special. Dr. Qualls, you ready for our picks?
Okay, good.
He's ready.
One-word answers, okay?
So, last week, we all struggled. The fans, you and I both go 3-3. Dr. Qualls goes 2-4.
Oof.
R.I.P. Dr. Qualls' picks.
Oof.
That means there's a three-way tie. Right here.
52-10.
And Dr. Qualls, all 52-10. The fans are 51-11.
The three amigos.
That's right. The three amigos. Oh, can you believe we're tied with this guy? 52-10. The fans are 51-11. Remember, fans, keep going to WCSCO Athletics on X to participate. Now, got our picks lined up. We're going to start with the Battle of the Woods.
Okay.
Battle of the Woods, game day, as it always does. We're coming to town for Brentwood at Ravenwood. Ravenwood's got a great student. If any Ravenwood students are watching, #1 student section right now for the year, I'm going no-low.
The last 2 years.
The reigning
Let me tell you something.
Centennial, the volleyball.
Let me tell you something. It
nice.
used to be Ravenwood. It was without a doubt. When you were the basketball coach at Franklin and when you first stepped into this role, Dr. Qualls, and I told you, hey, it's not even close, right? Been a lot of places, a lot of great crowds. The Ravenwood crowd is second to none. That is not, just being honest, it's not the case anymore. It's Nolensville. I think it can be Ravenwood again. This is a big game. It's the Battle of the Wood. And by the way,
Woods.
I say Battle of the Wood, but we got a few surprises lined up for them too.
We did.
This, if you want to take back your title as the #1 student section in Wilco, Friday night is the time to do it. It'll be the night after Halloween. You'll be all hopped up on Nerds Clusters and Sour Patch Kids and Kit Kats, right? This is the time to do it. And I promise you, there's some surprises that come in that will not disappoint.
That's for sure. All right, I'm picking first.
Okay.
Brentwood at Ravenwood. I think in true Brentwood-Ravenwood style, it's a matchup that goes into the fourth quarter. I've said it all along. I've got Ravenwood winning it all. I've got Ravenwood undefeated for the year, so they have to win this one to be undefeated. I'm going with the Raptors.
I agree. I think this is a little bit of a low-scoring affair because I just think the Brentwood defense is so good, disciplined. They just don't beat themselves. So I think Ravenwood wins. I think they're too much, but I don't think this is like I think this is a 24-10 type game.
WCTV Game of the Week. Summit 3-6 at Independence 2-7. They're both 1-3. The winner is in. The loser, they're getting the plastic bins out. They're washing the unis. They're taking the stuff up. Done for the year.
Helmets are going in the recon
Yes,
bag.
yes. Your pick, Tate. Who you got?
WCTV Game of the Week. This is tough, man, because I think Independence is getting better. I think what Coach Stidham does is tough to defend, especially when you haven't seen it. But I think the same thing. I think what Summit does offensively, especially when they're healthy, is tough to defend. I really think this is a pick 'em just based on the Nolensville win. That was a quality win. I'm going with the Summit. And they have an experienced quarterback in McElhaney. I'm going with the Spartans on the road.
Agree on all of it, and especially your last point. The difference is the quarterback position. Horner's great, but he's young.
He's 15. Unless he
McElhaney,
turned 16 the last couple of weeks.
he's riding his bike.
He's riding his bike.
McElhaney, healthy, playing well. Summit's hitting their stride. I think it's Summit.
Agreed.
Next matchup, Centennial versus Hillsboro. Both 2-2. Winner ends up being third in the league. It's Centennial by about 20, maybe more.
Agreed. How about ditto?
Tate, your pick. This one, to me, seemed more exciting going into last week. Nolensville losing to Summit maybe diminished it a little bit, but you clear all that up. It's at Nolensville. They'll have a great student. And by the way, Page's student section pretty strong too.
Yeah.
The rain game with Centennial's the one that, to me, gave me Nolensville. You looked at all the other games. There's barely people there. They were
Not them.
rocking. Both 4-0. It's for the region championship. Page at Nolensville. What say you, Mr. Mathews?
I'm going with Page, and this has become quite a rivalry between the two.
It is.
It's a little testy.
It is.
It's not real, they're not going out to eat together after the game, whoever wins, whoever loses. But I'm going with Page. I think they're that good, and I hate to say this because I'm on the board of directors of the Paul Derrick Defensive Game Plan fan club.
Yes, you are.
I think Coach Rathbone could even get a visit from the sheriff's department for a Wilco on Wilco crime. I think it could be that bad.
Wow.
Which we don't do, but you do have to look into it.
Well, we may have to get the sheet back on.
Excuse me.
I'm not getting into those specifics, Mr. Matthews,
Keeping it real, man.
But I'm picking Page. Page at Nolensville.
So we're the same, 4 for 4.
Next game, Fairview. 4-5, 2-1 in the league at White House Heritage, 6-3, 3-0 in the league. Now, oddly enough, Coach Hughes said it, and you got the pick right last week. He said, tougher matchup for us is probably Sycamore. They like to run the ball. You said it too.
Yeah.
So Fairview, do they bounce back? I hate to say it,
I feel a butt coming here.
but I'm picking White House Heritage.
You're picking the Sad Sam's dump.
I am. I don't really want to. I do feel like we got to have a little separation, and I feel like you're going to pick Fairview. I'm going to go with the home team, White House Heritage. And by the way, Mr. Mathews, I hope I'm wrong.
Sycamore was a matchup problem because of the way they play. White House Heritage, they try to be cute, flinging around, da-da-da. So, plus, when you're going up there, Yellow Jacket Nation, if you go up the interstate, don't go right because that'll take you to Sad Sam's. You don't want to be sad before the game. That's why we call it the Sad Sam's dump. You're going to take a left, go to the Loves over there. Much better. I think they got a Taco Tico in there. Get you a couple of crunchy tacos, and it does not disappoint. But I'm not believing the hype. Sycamore was a matchup problem. Coach Hughes, I got faith in you, baby. The Yellow Jackets, keep Snappies open late because the Fairview Yellow Jackets are coming home with a dub.
Wow. We'll have some separation.
Separation. Coach Qualls, Dr. Qualls is going to pick White House Heritage too. I'm getting ready to go to first place. I bet money he picks White House Heritage. What? Oh, that's right. You're texting yours in.
Final pick, it's really not much to pick. Franklin, final game of the year at home. They take, unless something happens in the playoffs that we don't necessarily anticipate, but they'll go to 5-5. We both agree Franklin by a bunch, right?
Coach Atkins will be wearing that hat.
Heading to the playoffs.
I didn't bring the sunglasses out because he'll be wearing the primetime Dion glasses.
All right, so it'll be Fairview, White House Heritage to determine where we stand.
It's going to be fun, man. Any of these Thursday night? They're not, are they?
No.
I don't think they are. Dang, could have gotten a 2-for-1. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. Tate, appreciate you being here. Thanks for joining us for Sports Connection. We'll see you next time.